Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun.
Hey, Nick Collier here, and we're off and running on another, well, not another, but the same old, same old project. And the last time you saw this was probably about 6 months ago. And in the last 6 months, I have had one project after another walk in that front door, and I haven't had time to get back to this until now. And I've got about 3 days of dinking around that I can just kind of work on the stuff I want to work on before I have to go back to, doing stuff for other people, which is, a good thing because, it pays the bills and that sort of thing. We've got this steady rest that we're building still, and we're back to it. So we're going to play around with it. Hang in there. We're going to have some fun. Well, as you can see, I've got this new mill and I had this old piece of shit vise on it, and so I just decided, okay, we're gonna spring for a Kurt vise because it's the top of the line. It's a great vise, and so we sprung for it. It showed up here about a week ago, and this will actually be my first actual use of the vise, and I'm fairly excited about it. I've kind of dinked around with it a little bit on littler projects, but where you just throw something up there and just trim it. But this is going to be a little bit more accurate part of the project, so we're going to play with that. And let's get moving. What I'm doing is creating a channel so that a piece of steel can slide up and down so that I can make the followers. So we're just going to kind of, well, let's not travel fast. Let's travel slow. That's better. And we're going to bring the table up to it. Spin it up so it's got a little strength to it. Bring it on up until it makes contact. And I'm thinking let's just go on over and cut this shorter one first. And then we can come back and just hog out the other one. Give that a try. All right, we've got 3. That's all we need. They're all consistent length, they're all consistent width, they're all consistent height. We'll take those over to the project and we'll be back. All right, well, so far this is what we've got. We're going to put these in, of course, 3 different positions. And we need to bring a pretty stout bar, and that's what I've got here, in far enough that it can reach all the way to 0. And I'm seeing, and of course this bar is a bit wide, so we're going to have to cut that down. But at this point, I'm seeing this being just about what we want. About, what does that look like? 6 inches or so. Oh no, more like 8 inches. Let's put a mark on this and take a measurement. And we're going to do 3 of these, 7.5 inches about. And so we'll take them over to the saw 3 pieces, and then we'll come back and mill off the extra on the edge. We'll be back. Okay, so we started with our line, our halfway line, and then we went 90 degrees from there, just coming up with an eyeball 90 degrees. So we've got our basic first line for our first triad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and just kind of come up, well actually these aren't big enough. Run this up against the edge up here, and then take it out to where we think 120 degrees is, and bring this over to here, and do another dot, and it's definitely not 120 degrees. So we've got to notice how much room between here and the dot, so we need to divide that by 3, and so somewhere in that general area we'll erase these dots. Do it again. Close. We're still that far out. I'll just do a little bit closer. Too close. Another one. There it is. Let's go restart the mill.
Right,
So we've got our first line flattened, and that will give us a nice flat edge to work from when we flip it over. And I think we're just going to do one at a time here because it seems to be just a little bit much for the cutter. And also we're going to go to a rough cutter instead of oh, I don't know, my brain has gone blank. What do you do about that? This thing. Okay, hang on a second. What are we doing? Taking it out.
Yeah, come on in.
All right, well, as you can see, there's a lot of metal that I just didn't want to cut off on the mill. So I'm just lopping off the good portion. Okay, so what we've got is we're going to do 1 inch right there. Maybe we don't want to do it right there. Maybe we want to get it as close to that edge as possible. Let's bring it in. I'm going to move you back a little bit because I'm banging up against the... that's about centered. And we're in as close as we can get here. And so we'll just drill our holes and then we're going to press the bolts into place. All right, well, we've got a reamer that's about, I can't remember, half a thou undersize, which means that we'll be able to push the threads up, but this shoulder hopefully will be a press fit. So let's see how we do. Threads fit. Shoulder's too loose. But that's okay. We can come in and I might put another shoulder on here to get this bolt head down a little further, or just come in and throw a fast tack right on one of those faces, and the bolt will be right through there just like that. May as well just do them all. What the hell? All right, those are all prepped and ready to go. We've got 3 bolts, we've got 3 clips, and well, let's move on. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to take some of this off, and we're going to see how much we need to take off. Let's measure it from this side. So we're looking at about 100, 150 thousandths, maybe, might be 200. whatever it is, it's a substantial amount so far. But definitely better than the almost an inch that I sawed off earlier. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so if you look, it's just a little bit snug. Oh, I don't know. It looks pretty good. It might slide just nicely. All right, we're going to give it a try. If it's too tight, I can just sand a little bit of it and it'll be better. So let me take off the surface and we'll be back. Okay, so it fit, but it's a snug fit, and I need us to slide. And you can see it goes, but it's, you know, just a little too snug. So I'm thinking I'm gonna take 2/1000ths, and that'll give us a nice slip fit. All right, there's 2. Let's start her up and see what we can do. All right. Let's see what that does. Okay, it's a nice slip. Well, just a little bit tight, but I think we're going to be just fine. It seems to tighten up on this end. So this end, and one of the ends was just like a half bigger. Actually, it looks like it's going to slide. I'm thinking maybe it's catching down in here. There's a little bit of garbage down there. Let me wipe it out. Now, just a little bit tight. Now if I bring it up off of that surface, it looks like it slides just fine. So I'm thinking somehow we've got just a little bit of a bind down in here somewhere. Maybe just a little bit of a file work. But you know what? The reality of it is we will do the file work later. Once we get all the pieces where we want them and set in place. Well, okay, so we've made some real progress today. We've got our sliders not finished by any means, but set up so that they slide. And then we need to come in tomorrow or whenever we get back to this and put a slot down the center of this so that it slides up and down on the receiver itself. And then we need to come up with a bolt and nut situation that we can kind of set up you know, probably some kind of finger nut or something like that, that we can get these things to move in and out accurately without too much problem. And I think what I'm going to do is go into town and see if I can come up with a fine threaded bolt that's about this size and go from there. So hey, hang in there with me. We'll be back tomorrow. Okay, the next step in this little disaster is to put a notch in this bar here that allows the slider to go all the way in and come all the way back out. And of course this will sit out here like that. And so I've marked it from here to here, and we're just going to run a slot, a half-inch slot, right down the center of that. Shouldn't be a problem, right? Okay, let's do it. Okay, that has it centered and squared up on one end so that we don't have to fight this thing every time. So we've got 3 to do here. All right, we don't have to be super accurate here, but you know, I'd hate to be a few thousandths off one way or the other and not have that bolt fit. So we're gonna come in and wiggle out this this edge. And I think we want to travel just a little faster to do it. Yes, there it is. There must have been a little burr on this side or something. I'm not sure what it was. Okay. Half inch. So we want to come in the half inch first, so that's 250, 250. And then half of the bar. And we're looking at 169. So 1/2 would be 500. 305, right? Or 04. Okay, 04.5. And that should put us dead center. All right, so we've got ourselves centered. We're going to drop our bit down. At some point we're going to punch through. There we go. Now we'll lock that. We got our table locked, at least Y direction locked, and I think we're ready to kind of get going here. Okay, we're going to bring it that way, 2000s, go run it back down, come back this way and run it back down there, and that'll give us lots of room for the bolt to slide in there very nice and easy. Okay, let's see how our bolt's going to do, and it's going to do just fine. And nice and snug, and yet still fairly loose. Okay, so we got that. We bring it back to 0. 0. We bring the table back to 0. 3, 2, 0. Take our piece out, and it looks pretty good. On to the next one. All right. Down. Okay, so the next step in this process is to put a point on the end of this so that the roller can roll around without getting too much trouble. So what I'm doing is I set it up at 30 degrees and I'm just taking 30-degree wax off of both sides of each one of these clips. Okay, well, while the rest of those are cutting, we've set up my old piece of shit Bridgeport vise, which has a degree wheel on it, which is what we're looking for right now. And we're going to run that over to 30 degrees and cut that where we want to cut it. Okay, so we cut the somewhat 30-degree angles here. Now I want to get that fairly accurate, so I'm going to come in here and I squared up that back edge. So now we'll just come in and we're going to get that back edge squared up with the other side of the mill, or the vise. There we go. Looks pretty good. And then just come in and kiss that edge, and that should give us plenty. And maybe a little bit more of a kiss than that. There we go. And the cool thing I like about a 42-inch bed or table is I can put two vices up here at one time. I can leave my Kurt vise totally squared up, and, you know, it's exactly where I want it to be, and then put this old Bridgeport vise up with the rotating head on it, and do both jobs at one time. Oh man, do I like that. All right. Take that, and we're just basically going to spin it over. Set it up against our stop. Nice and square. And then just bring it back the same distance without moving any X direction. And it should square up right dead center. At least one would hope. Okay. And Do we have a dead center set up? I think we pretty much do. All right, let's take it over. Well, first we want to go over and knock off these sharp edges. I'll be back.